Hello out there, everyone. I hope your week is off to a great start. This is Mika McLinden with the A Ruby in the Making show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure as you're listening, you take it easy out there. If you're driving, be safe. Watch out for those other drivers. I want you to get home safely, but thank you so much for taking time to tune in to the show today. Get your groove on for a minute. Get your groove on just for a minute. Get your bounce. You got it. You got it. Yeah. Don't you love that beat? Yeah. You got your little groove head bob in there a little bit today. That's all right. Yes, we love it. So again, thank you for tuning in. Again, be safe while you're out there. Let everybody know about the A Ruby in the Making show. So again, thank you for joining today. This is Mika McLinden, founder and CEO of Amazing Rare Rubies. And you know we are a women's organization. We are a movement. We are here to help women become the woman God created them to be. Of course, we believe that when we were born, God gave us everything, and we mean everything. He did not miss a beat, a drop, anything. He gave it all to us, everything that we need to be the woman he created us to be. Unfortunately, we do live in a society that does not always help us cultivate those particular characteristics. And so therefore, Amazing Rare Rubies was birthed, and it is here. We believe with those characteristics, we should help individuals cultivate them, help you practice and understand, and dig into what does it mean to be courageous or to be ethical or to be giving or humble or loving or obedient or selfless or thrifty. We believe in all of those particular characteristics, which can be found in Proverbs 31. Now, lately, Amazing Rare Rubies, we've really been focusing on the financial aspect. When I tell you it's just been so heavy on my heart, right? We've been talking about finances now for almost a month, right at a month now. It's probably going to be ongoing because there's just so much out there. And so I know a couple of weeks ago, we talked about budgeting and gave some tips on how to budget. Last week, we talked about having an emergency fund, and thank you guys for bearing with me because last week I was really, really coughing with that cold, right? Still have a little bit of a congestion. You can kind of hear it, but doing better. So I'm really glad about that. And so this week, we're going to keep going, right, with this financial education because when we heard those statistics, right, and I mean we, because every time I hear them, I'm still baffled, right? When you hear the statistic that 79% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, it just breaks my heart because money and math really isn't the problem. It's our behavior of how we utilize our money, right? That we really need to work on. And so when you think about all of us started out making $0 per hour or per month or per year, right? We made $0. And as we began to get money, a lot of us had a mindset and a behavior that spent money before we could even get it good. And so what ended up happening is we began to develop behaviors like, buy now, pay later, right? Layaway. We didn't really understand the value of money because for the most part, most of us will have a steady income coming in, right? And as long as that steady income is coming in, it's like, well, hey, I'm going to get a check next Friday or 2 weeks from now or whatever your payroll cycle may be. And so we get accustomed to it. And unfortunately, a lot of us really don't learn about money and how it works, and we don't really educate ourselves on it. And by the time we get to a point where we're ready to educate ourselves, a lot of us find, that we're in a lot of debt. I know that was me. Some of you have heard my story about being in over $30,000 worth of debt. And I know people say, well, $30,000, that's not a lot. Well, it was a lot to me. And that was about between 15 to 20 years ago. That I was in that debt. And that's a lot of money even today. And I know some people's debt may be more than that because of student loans and, credit cards and different things of that sort. And mine, for the most part, was credit cards. Had a ton of them. I even at the time, which of course I'm not in high school anymore, so don't try to date me on this. But, at the time, I can remember getting out of high school, going to college, and weighing like 98 pounds. Yes, I did weigh 98 pounds back then. And I had a credit card for Lane Bryant. Okay, what was the logic in that for me? That's a problem, right? And again, by the time we realize that that's a problem, here I am, 98 pounds. There was nothing in there that I could really wear. So I was getting socks and little accessories out of there on a credit card. That's kind of crazy. But again, we find ourselves that we're in so deep, or we're in so much debt by the time we're ready to educate ourselves on it, that is very painful trying to get out of the situation that we're in. But what we have to remember is that behavior didn't happen overnight, so it's not going to change overnight. The debt did not happen overnight, so it's not going to disappear, overnight. We have to go through the process of becoming to get ourselves out of that to be better. Now, I know, again, with Amazing Rare Rubies, we focus a lot on the ruby traits. And the funny thing is, God is so amazing, because if you have the Diffusion Process devotional journal, you'll see the traits in there. And God literally showed me how all these different traits that's listed in this book connect to finances. Let me give you an example of what I mean. For example, you need courage to manage your finances. You need to be a decision maker to manage your finances. You need to be determined that your finances, right, are going to be in order. You need to be giving when it comes to finances. You need to be obedient when it comes to finances. How about patience? Oh, yeah, we can all agree with that. You need to be prepared of how your money is going to be spent. Thoughtful, timely, trustworthy, stable-minded. How about that one? So he began to show me how all these different traits were needed in order for us to even get our money right. And so today, right, bringing it all the way up to this week. Again, we talked about budget. We talked about emergency funds. So today I want to talk to you about your credit score. Some of you may know that as a FICO score, right? And, just give you a little bit of some knowledge and tidbits on that. So for some, you might go, oh, yeah, I knew that. And it'll be a reminder moment, kind of like, oh, yeah, that's right. Some, it may be an aha moment, right? And some, it may be the first time that you're actually hearing it, right? So whichever stage you're at is okay, because we always encourage women to begin to be right where they are. But today I want to talk to you about that credit score. What is it, first of all, right? So we know that it's a 3-digit number, right? And most of the scales are going to show between 300 to 850. Okay, for your credit score. And basically, it is a score that's going to help lenders, help individuals make a decision about loans, amounts, the terms and conditions of it. How about the simple yes or no? They will look at your credit score. Now, to understand or to have, let me change that wording. To have a credit score, one of the first things I need everybody to understand is that in order for you to have a credit score, you must be in debt. Yeah, how about that? You must be in debt. Now, you know that I'm a debt-free person. I believe in us being debt-free. Now, the reality is the majority of us are not going to start that way. We're trying to get out of a hole of debt that we've built ourselves in, so we have a credit score. So while you are in need of credit, meaning if you're in a position you need to get a loan, you are going to need to purchase a house, you're going to need to purchase a car and finance it, right? Then you are going to need a credit score. Now, I am a huge Dave Ramsey fan, and he doesn't have a credit score. And he talks about how he's built himself out of that because, again, the only way you can have a credit score is that you have debt. So if you're in a position where you need a credit score, you want to make sure you understand a credit score and how to manage it. So today, that's what I want to talk about, right? The credit score. So we know it's that 3-digit number. We know that is what they're going to use to determine whether or not they're going to give us a loan, what the weighted rate of the loan would be, the terms, the amount, etc. And we know that it's on a scale of 300 to 850. Now, there are 5 elements of a credit score. Okay, 5 elements of a credit score. Those 5 elements are your payment history, your credit utilization, the length of your credit history, new credit, and mixed credit, or your credit mix, I should say. So let me repeat those for you. Those 5 components, those 5 elements of your credit score are going to be your payment history, your credit utilization, the length of your credit history, any new credit that you may have, and then your credit mix. So let's talk a little bit about those, right? So your payment history is going to be 35% of your score. 35% of your credit score is going to be your payment history. This means how you're repaying your debt. Are you paying your debt on time? So, you know, with some credit cards or loans and things of that sort, they give you grace periods. You know, and I'm not going to say don't use the grace periods, but I will say don't make using the grace period a habit. You know, if you need to use that grace period and pay, you know, it's due on the 15th and you need to pay it on the 17th. You know, that happens sometimes. Use it because you actually had to. Don't make it a habit of always paying it 2, 3, 4 days late. Why? Because again, when it comes down to money management, our problem is our behavior, not the math of money management. We all know how to add and subtract, right? But we have to change our behavior and how we look at money. So one of the things is making sure you pay your bills on time. So 35% of your credit score is payment history. It's based on your payment history. The second one, which is credit utilization, is 30%. 30% of your credit score is based on credit utilization. So as a rule of thumb, we basically say that your credit utilization ratio should not be more than 30% of your allotted credit card limit. And this is per credit card. So basically what that means, let's keep it simple and say you have one credit card, right? You have one credit card with a $3,000 limit. Then you should never have more than 30% of that $3,000 being used, right? If you go over that, right, you need to make sure you're definitely paying it off at the end of the month. But your credit utilization is saying you have X amount of credit in total, whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 12 credit cards, right? You have X amount of credit in total, but you utilize Y amount. Let's do that, right? You utilize Y amount of credit. So I have $3,000 worth of credit. I'm utilizing 30% of that. I think I did 10% earlier, didn't I? Would be nice to, let me verify that. I was doing the math in my head and that didn't work very well, did it? So we said you had $3,000 worth of credit, right? And you want to take out 30% of that on average. There we go. That's 900. Thank you. I couldn't focus. I couldn't get that. So I think I said 300 earlier. Scratch that. So you have $3,000 worth of credit, and your credit utilization means you shouldn't go over $900 on that card every month. If you do, you want to definitely make sure you're paying it off at the end of each month. We want you to pay it off anyway, though, but we want to make sure we're keeping that credit utilization score at 30% or less. And again, that's per credit card. So in totality, you know, if you have $30,000 worth of credit, you don't want to go over 30% of that being utilized. Okay, so that is your credit utilization. And I know I'm going through this probably a little bit fast. It's a little bit more detailed, but we're going to get as much in as we can today. And if we need to go back and revisit, we can do that too. So the third component of your credit score is the length of your credit history, and that's 15%. Okay, the length of your credit history is 15%, and this is the amount of time that the account has been open. So the longer the account is open and in good standing, because that piece is important, in good standing, meaning you're paying on time, not past due, not 30, 60, 40 days late, right? 30, 60, 40, 30, 60, 90 days late. You want to make sure that it's in good standing, and the longer it's open, the better your credit score is. Okay, so that's your length of credit history, which is 15%. Okay, of your credit score. The fourth component is new credit. Now, this is where you hear people talk about soft inquiries and hard inquiries on your credit score. So you want to make sure you do not have more than 1 to 2 hard inquiries every 2 years, right? So hard inquiries are going to be those big things, like you're purchasing a car, or you're getting a house, refinancing a house. So those are hard inquiries. Certain type of loans would be a hard inquiry. Now, if I can recall correctly, I think like if you're going to get a cell phone or something like that, that's a soft inquiry. That's not a hard one. But new credit are going to be those things that show up on your credit report, as a loan, like a car, like a house, and you don't want to have more than 1 to 2 of those every 2 years. So where's an example where people could have more than that, right? Let's still stick with the cars and the houses. So you buy a house. We know that's a hard inquiry, right? So you either have one more hard inquiry you can do within the next 2 years, or you need to wait, right? Because you don't want to go over 2 of them. But let's say you did and you buy a car, right? So you bought your house. Now you just bought a car and you financed both of them, right? That's 2 hard inquiries on your report. But let's say you go out and buy a third car, a third item, 2 cars, 1 house. So you bought a second car, which becomes the third hard inquiry within 2 years. That is going to negatively impact your credit score. So you want to make sure you only have 1 to 2 hard inquiries every 2 years, because they fall off after 2 years. That's why that timeline is there. So you want to be careful of opening new credit. Make sure it's something that you need, that you want to identify your needs before you go out and just purchase these things. How is it going to benefit you if you go out and open up, new credit? And then, of course, you also want to make sure you're getting the best value for that new credit if you're going out there doing that. Again, we prefer to be debt free, but while some of us are learning about debt and credit cards, etc., and some of us have already learned some hard lessons around it, I want you to know what the components are, right? So we still want to make sure that education is out there, but in no means, no way am I asking you or telling you to go out and get into debt. I'm just putting the information out there to help you better understand credit score, especially when it comes down to your financial stability. All right. So the 5th component is your credit mix, and that is 10%. The 5th component is your credit mix, and that is 10%. And so the credit mix shows what type of credit you have and what can you handle, right? So it may show loans, revolving loans, mortgage, car note, credit card. So you're going to have you want to have a good mix of revolving loans and installment loans, right? Because that kind of shows people that you can balance it. It shows them that you're kind of worthy of both, for lack of a better phrase right there. So your credit mix is going to show what type of credit you actually have. What can you actually handle? Okay. Now let me go back over those components for you, because I know I kind of gave the percentages as I went through the explanations of each one. So your payment history is 35%. Your credit utilization is 30%. Your length of credit history is 15%. Your new credit is 10%. And your credit mix is 10%. So those are the 5 elements of your credit score. Now I'm also going to give you a rule of thumb credit score range that you can kind gauge where your credit is. So let me give you that breakdown as well. So we know that the standard score is going to be between 300 and 850. Remember that 3-digit score? We talked about it at the beginning. That 3-digit number is going to be between 300 and 850. So if your credit is basically below 560, that's going to be considered pretty bad credit. No other way to put it. If it's below 560, so you're 300 to like 559, is going to pretty much be considered bad credit, right? If you're 560 to 659, is looked at as not being good, so like not good. 660 to 724 is considered good credit. 725 to 759 is considered very good credit. And then 760 to 850 is considered great credit or excellent credit. Now, the average credit score in the U.S. is about 680 something. But believe it or not, we still have a lot of people struggling with getting their credit score where they need it to be. So you want to make sure you understand, where do you fall? Are you in the great, like excellent, like 760 and above? Are you in the very good, between 725 and 759? Or do you have good credit? That's between 660 and 724. Or do you have not so good credit, between 560 and 659? Or is your credit below 559? And if it is, that's considered bad credit. And again, that's just a standard range. That's kind of to give you a gauge, right? So you can kind of understand where you're falling when it comes to your credit score. And then there are 3 credit bureaus, and I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with them. Your 3 credit bureaus: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Those are your 3 credit bureaus. And you are able to get a copy of your credit report once a year. I encourage you to get that so you understand what is on your credit report. Again, as long as you need to purchase a house, a car, or whatever, a loan, need to get a loan, anything that requires financing, you want to make sure you understand your credit score. You want to make sure that your credit report is accurate. Those 5 components are very important. And as you can tell, when we went through that exercise, your payment history is the biggest one. A lot of people say, well, how can I improve my credit score? Pay your bills on time. That's the best way to improve your credit score. Pay your bills on time. And the other thing is your credit utilization. Stop maxing out your credit cards. Don't have everything maxed out. It's important that you show that you know how to utilize money. That's why it's so important that we understand money and how it actually works. So I want you to make sure that you're paying your bills on time and you understand your credit utilization. Those are the 2 biggest impacts. That's 65% of your credit score. And again, in order for you to even have a credit score, you have to be in debt. So, that's one of those things that's so funny, because we all want to have that 800 plus credit score, right? Oh, I want 810, I want 820, I want 850, which sounds great, but it also means that we are in debt. I have a credit score because we have a house note. And that is the last step, baby step 6, actually. If you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, get that house note paid off. And that's what we want to do, so that we can really begin to build legacy for the future. And we can also give back more to help others. So you want to know what your credit score is. You want to understand how it works. And you want to make sure you understand the components of the credit score. But the best way to improve your credit score is to pay your bills on time and to make sure your credit utilization is managed appropriately. Now, with the Amazing Rare Rubies, we are huge believers that as you hear information, it's so important that you do the 5 steps of becoming on every piece of information we give you. And we know that that first step is always going to be prayer. Yes, it is. We want you to pray about it, because when you hear different things in your life, it doesn't mean that the information isn't important, but you want to make sure that information is for the season of the time of your life right now, for the time that you're in. So we encourage you to make sure you pray about everything that we teach you so that you can be in alignment with what God has for you. The second step that we always encourage everyone to do is to do their self-awareness. It's so important that as we're going through all of these learnings in life that we understand who we are and where we are in that situation and what we did to contribute to it. Truly ask yourself about that, because it'll help you with steps 3 and 4 that's coming up. Once you do that assessment and take ownership, and that's the key word, take ownership for your contribution to the pluses or the minuses of that situation, it's better for you as you walk out your becoming. The third step here is to identify what you want to change. And for this particular lesson today, understanding credit score, what we should want to change is our knowledge level, right? Our education around truly understanding what a credit score is and the components of it and how it can truly affect us. So, you got to look at that and make sure that's something that you want to change right now. And then the fourth step is blockage. What's been blocking us from really understanding credit score? I know for me, a lot of it was, I was able to still get by. I was still getting a paycheck. I was, still able to pay my bills. And, I wasn't really worried about, credit. I thought, shoot, I'm doing all right, And then as long as I pulled my credit score and it was good, and I did settle for good at the time, I was fine. I didn't need to understand it, in my opinion. But we need to educate ourselves so that we have better control and more control over our own finances, over our future, over our destiny. So identify what's been blocking you from actually learning about your credit score if you haven't done so already. Identify that particular blockage so that you can take care of it and doesn't come back and bite us later, right? And then the last step, the fifth step is the how formula, which is where we say harvest the change with an open mindset and work that change into your lifestyle. So harvest as much information as you can around credit score. Go online, Google it, understand exactly what it means so that, you can digest it, right? Because that's important. That's the second part of the how formula. Process it with an open mindset. Once you harvest all that information, we want you to begin to process it. But we want you to process it like a newborn baby. Process it as though you've never heard of it so that you can truly have those self-awareness moments as you're going through all of that information and downloading it. You'll truly have that moment where you know what you need to do to change and you understand your why you haven't changed as well, right? So we want you to harvest the change with an open mindset, and then we want you to work those changes into your lifestyle. That's going to be very important because, again, this is a behavior issue. This is not a mathematical problem. Understanding our finances, learning our finances, and taking control is a behavior issue. So we want to make sure you begin to work those changes into your lifestyle and understand what you need to do to improve your overall credit score for you, not for anybody else, but for you, right? So, as always with Amazing Rare Rubies, we always hope and pray that every time you listen to us and you take time out of your life, your schedule, your day to tune in, we pray that it has been a blessing to you. And we always encourage you to keep God in every decision made, every lesson learned, and every message taught. And of course, until we meet again, I want you to make sure that you make it a Ruby day. I want you to make sure that you stay safe out there. If you have not connected with us on social media, please do so at www.amazingrarerubies.com is our website. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and you can find us on Twitter as well, up under the handle Amazing Rare Rubies. Also, if you are in need of any financial teachings, classes, or speaking engagements, you can also reach out to us via our website as well, www.amazingrarerubies.com. Thank you so much for joining today. Make it a Ruby Day, and I'll talk to you next time.